They gave me 3 seconds. Not officially, not with a stopwatch, just 3 heartbeats where everything inside me froze. 3 seconds to decide whether I stayed quiet like I always had or whether I stepped into something that could ruin my life or save someone else's. Back then, I didn't think of it as courage. I thought of it as a mistake waiting to happen. But, looking back now, that moment was the line between who I had been my whole life and who I finally became. My name didn't matter much in those days. People barely noticed me anyway. I was the guy you saw and forgot 5 seconds later. Late 20s. Average height, cheap jacket, always moving fast like I didn't want to take up space. I worked nights at a high-end restaurant downtown, one of those places with dim lights, soft music, and menus you need an explanation for. I wasn't there because I loved it. I was there because rent doesn't care about dreams, and neither does debt. I had grown up being told to keep my head down, don't cause trouble, don't talk back to people who matter. So that's what I did. I kept my head down so well, I almost disappeared. That night started like any other. Long shift, sore feet, mind already drifting toward the bus ride home and the leftover noodles waiting in my fridge. Then the manager pulled me aside and told me I was assigned to the private room. Important guests, big money, no mistakes. His tone said everything. Mess this up and you're done. I nodded like I always did. Yes, sir. Got it. No problem. That was my specialty. The private room had that heavy, expensive quiet. Deep wood walls, a single chandelier. City lights bleeding through rain-streaked windows. 5 men sat around the table. And even before I knew his name, I knew who ran the room. He had that kind of presence. Calm, controlled, not loud, not flashy. The kind of guy who doesn't need to raise his voice because people already lean in. Later, I'd learn he was a tech billionaire, old money mixed with sharp instincts. At the time, he was just another powerful man I was supposed to serve and forget. The others talked fast. Numbers, acquisitions, territories. I moved in and out quietly, refilling glasses, clearing plates, pretending I wasn't listening. That was the rule, but one of them caught my attention. The one sitting to the billionaire's right. Younger than the rest, smiling too much, laughing half a second late. I'd grown up around people who smiled like that. The kind who wanted something. The kind who thought they deserved it. I told myself I was being paranoid. When you grow up broke, you learn to imagine threats everywhere. Still, my eyes kept drifting back to him. Then came the moment. I was pouring water hand steady out of habit when I saw him lean forward. Looked normal. Reaching across the table, pointing at some document, but his other hand was different. Too careful. Too precise. In his palm, something small caught the light for half a second. A vial, barely bigger than my thumbnail. He tilted his hand just enough. Something slipped into the dark red wine in front of the man at the head of the table. No splash, no sound, just gone. My stomach dropped. My mind tried to explain it away. Medicine, vitamins, anything but what it looked like. But then I saw his eyes flick up, scanning the room, checking for witnesses. And in that instant, my body reacted before my brain could argue. My pulse spiked. My palms went cold. I knew. I just knew. I thought about walking away. About how this wasn't my business. About how people like me don't accuse people like him. About how I needed this job. About how I had already spent my whole life paying for mistakes that weren't even mine. But I also saw a man about to lift that glass. A man who had no idea his life was about to end in the quietest, most polite way possible. 3 seconds. My foot caught the table leg on purpose. My elbow clipped the water glass. It tipped, then fell, ice and water exploding across the table, soaking his suit. The room froze. I heard my own voice apologizing too fast, too loud, my heart hammering so hard I thought everyone could hear it. Someone laughed nervously. Someone cursed. The billionaire stood up slowly, water dripping from his jacket, and looked straight at me. Not angry, not confused, awake. "It's fine," he said, calm as glass. "Accidents happen." I rushed to grab towels, hands shaking so badly I had to grip the stack just to keep from dropping them. When I came back, I reached for the wine glass. and that's when his hand closed around my wrist. Firm, controlled, not painful, but absolute. "Leave it," he said quietly. I did. I stepped back. He slid the glass away without another word and went right back to the conversation like nothing had happened. But everything had changed. The smiling man went quiet. His shoulders stiffened. The rhythm of the table broke. 10 minutes later, he excused himself, pale sweating, claiming he felt sick. He never came back. The dinner ended early. The others left. The billionaire stayed. He watched me clear the table, then finally spoke. "That was interesting timing," he said. I swallowed. "Sometimes accidents are," I replied. The corner of his mouth lifted not quite a smile. He left cash on the table. "Way too much." I tried to refuse. He insisted. "What you did tonight," he said softly, "was worth more than money." At the door he paused. "Be careful," he added. "People don't forget interference." I didn't sleep that night, or the next. I noticed everything. Cars parked too long. Faces I thought I recognized. Then came the phone call. A man, claiming to be a detective, said there had been a death, said I needed to come in. My hands shook as I hung up and stared at the card the billionaire had slipped me before he left. He answered on the first ring. "That wasn't the police," he said after I told him. "Someone is testing you." That night someone tested my door. Just once. Quiet. Like they were checking if I was worth the trouble. His security showed up before anything happened. By morning I was moved somewhere safe. A place I'd only ever seen on screens. Big windows. Trees. Silence that felt unreal. Over the next week, the truth came out in pieces. The smiling man hadn't acted alone. There were others. Power struggles. Money. Control. The billionaire dismantled it all the way he knew how, with evidence records and patience. No explosions, no headlines, just consequences. When it was over, he sat across from me at a kitchen table and said, "You can go back to your life." I laughed before I could stop myself. What life, I asked. He offered to help. Not charity, he said. An investment. School. A future. I said no. Pride dies hard. He didn't push. He just said, "Think about it." I did, a lot. 2 years later, I walked into my first day of a job I'd only ever dreamed about. Clean clothes. No second shift waiting. No fear. I wasn't invisible anymore, and he stayed in the background exactly where he belonged. No ownership, no credit, just quiet support. Here's the part people argue about. Some say I should have walked away, that it wasn't my place, that survival means minding your business. Maybe they're right. But I know this. If I hadn't acted, I'd still be the guy who stayed quiet while the world decided things for him. So, let me ask you something. If you saw what I saw, would you have spilled the glass? Or kept your head down? Drop your thoughts below. I want to know where you stand.